What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, your bastard of ceremonies, Reckless Rex Ruger. If you couldn't tell by those enormous chompers, that is my silent sidekick, the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back with another amazing episode of Pod Scum as usual. You're looking at me, you're saying, where do I know you from? Well, you might also know me as Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., and the science will prove it soon, but my guest is here, so enough. Let's get down to it. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rex Ruger, and we're about to do it again. Boy, Sean, thank God that wasn't hard, huh?
Jesus Christ.
Technology, just making the world so much easier, man, you know?
I suck at it, man. It's just not my.
Hey, listen, I do a podcast and I suck at it, but I think it has something to do with the fact that I'm 51 years old, though, man. And technology just wasn't prevalent when I was growing up. You know what I mean? It's just. Are you starting your day with an energy drink?
I mean, it's not mine. It's 20 to 6 in the afternoon, in the evening. So it's just a brutal.
That's true. It's an awesome cup, but that's true. I always forget about the time differences, man. That's right. You're not waking up. I'm waking up. Yeah. So listen, man. Sean Hynes, of course, from Ingested, man. I usually like to start these things by kind of going back to the beginning, man. So for you specifically, was there a specific album or an artist or maybe even a song that really kind of jump-started the whole music thing for you in your life?
I mean, I started really early with music because my dad was on the radio, so I used to get a lot of free CDs coming in and out of the house, and kind of like further back, you know, when you're an adolescent, I remember liking Michael Jackson a lot when I was a kid, but I remember White Zombie Astro Creep 2000 from 1994. That was like came into the house, and that was the first time I heard like proper, you know, heavy guitar music like that. And then there was a compilation CD from Kerrang that my dad had. And it was in 1994, so it had Machine Head Davidian, Biohazard, Tales from the Hard Side, Body Count, Born Dead, just shit like that. So that's kind of like when I think metal was kind of introduced to me properly. But my love for metal didn't kind of start there immediately. I was into a band called, a dance band called The Prodigy.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of like took up all my my love in the mid to late 90s, and then Slipknot and Korn happened, and that was, that kind of spearheaded my interest in metal at that point.
And is there any one player out there, or maybe more than one player, who you think has influenced your own specific guitar playing?
Probably a collection, really. I mean, I'm nowhere near as good as these people, but I've mimicked and took influence from bands like Dying Fetus, which is John Gallagher, obviously Dimebag Darrell, Pantera. Terence Hobbs, Suffocation, those are Rob Arnold from Chimera. That's kind of like, that's what
guitar players can never not mention Dimebag. He always gets love, man.
I had to. I'd be lying if I said there wasn't some sort of influence there,
And when you guys get together as a band, Ingested, and your recent album, The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams, just came out this year. When you guys get together, man, what's the creative process like? Does somebody come in with the bulk of the ideas, or do you guys get together and collaborate?
Obviously, much like most bands these days, technology is a massive part of the band process. It's been years since we've jammed in rooms because the drummer lives in Spain, so whenever we get together, it's for a tour. So yeah, everything's done online. It's me that usually does all the ideas first, guitar-wise.
Well, you got frozen there for a minute. Still there? Sean is frozen in time. Which, by the way, a great obituary album, but Sean is frozen. Of course, this is where technology has its way with us. We will get him back in here. Un momento, man. I told him to leave the room and come back in. We're, of course, talking with SEAN HYNES, guitar player for death metal band Ingested. We will get him right back in here again. Of course, I will not edit this out because I do not edit anything. I'm recording real life for posterity's sake, and I'm 51 years old. And I can't be bothered with editing. So I just told my audience while you were gone, none of this will be edited out. I keep all the glitches and all the fuck-ups in because I just can't be bothered. I just can't be bothered with editing.
Well, let's just do it fucking as it is, man.
I'm not the Motley Crew of podcasting. There's no backing tracks or tricks or shenanigans or anything. You know what I mean? Real life is happening, and it's got to be
life.
It's got to be recorded for posterity's sake. Yeah,
that's good.
Okay, so you were saying about the creative process.
Yeah, I mean, I send all the tracks to Lynn. I don't even send him any drum ideas. He knows me so well that he'll just either predict or do something I could never think of because I'm a guitar player.
Right.
And then that's kind of how the music happens back and forth, really.
And now currently and again, if I got any of this wrong, when I was doing my research though, are you guys currently without an actual bass player?
Technically, yeah. It's officially just, the original members of the band, and then we have fill-ins, bass. We have a guy that we take out a lot, a guy called Tom, a young lad from Manchester. We take him out. He came to New York with us recently, the last few days. So, yeah, we try and play as a full band as we can. It's usually 4 people. The last time we did a 5-piece was our headline tour for the release of Tide. So,
but the game plan is to fill that spot eventually and have a solid member, or is this working good for you guys? Just having people kind of just revolve in and out.
I think we're warming to the idea of getting someone permanent, but obviously the future will tell.
And now you've got children and a family and stuff, and you've been doing this. You guys have been in band since 2006, and you said you've been doing music for quite a long time. Do you still like the nomadic existence of touring? Obviously, tears you away from the family and the creature comforts of home and everything. Do you still enjoy that element of being a musician?
It's harder. It's definitely got harder the last 4 or 5 years, being married and having my twin boys and that. But it's kind of like, because I've done it for so long and I'm used to the grind of what it is. It's almost like that's what I do,
Yeah.
I understand why people can't do it, but it's the one thing that I am good at, which is kind of insane that sort of scenario and that situation is comfortable for me. But yeah, I like it. It's hard, but that's what I chose to do. I chose death metal, so it's never going to be fucking easy,
Right. And plus, as you mentioned at the top of the interview, technology certainly makes it easier. You know what I mean? Now to talk and to see your family. You know what I mean? Like before in the old days, it was just like calling it a payphone from somewhere. Yeah, right.
It's all there on my phone, man.
Yeah,
When I was first touring, I remember the first European tour we ever did. There was no mobile phones. You have to use a phone box with fucking coins.
Right.
And we had one laptop between the 5 of us that we'd sometimes find Wi-Fi and manage to message our girlfriends on fucking Messenger and stuff. But different breed now, man.
Now, when you're out there touring, doing festivals, any of these varying shows, that take you traveling, throughout the world, have you yourself ever gotten the chance to meet any of your own heroes? Is there anybody that's ever kind of bowled you over where you said, wow, I can't believe I'm going to meet him, or I just met him?
Well, out of the few names that I mentioned before, like John Gallagher from Dying Fetus and Terence Hill from Suffocation, they're now my friends.
Yeah. That's crazy. I know you got to pinch yourself. I know.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the Suffo Boys a few months back actually in Finland, and we hang out, we say hello, we get drunk, and I remember turning around to Lynn, our drummer, and Ricky came over and just said, "I'm going to leave this part out because he's the bit where he didn't sing, and he just kind of walks off." And I just turned around to Lynn and went, "It's fucking weird that they're our mates. If he told us this fucking 20 years ago, man." But yeah, shit, it is weird.
You'd never believe it 20 years ago. Yeah. And out of all the shows that you yourself, speaking from a fan standpoint, concerts that you've seen as a fan, is there any that stick out to you, man? What would have been like a favorite?
2002 Slipknot, when they did the Disaster Pieces DVD kind of run, and it was for the release of Iowa.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've ever seen that, but Joey comes up and on a fucking drum riser.
Yeah.
A massive pentagram comes through and he starts spinning around. That was a gig I'll never fucking forget, man.
Yeah. The late great Joey Jordison. Yeah, man. One of the true amazing fucking drummers ever. Now to Ingested, you lend a lot of backing vocals, which obviously, for people that that don't know, I mean, most people tune into this are metalheads, but doing extreme metal, harsh on the voice. Are you somebody that ascribes to any type of voice care, or are you just somebody that can just go up there and just kind of fucking belt it out?
Well, lucky for me, I'm doing backing vocals, so I don't have to do so much. But I don't know. I just do it, you know. It's painful at times, but I'm just glad I'm not the front man. I'll put it that way. I always navigate and get through the set, but
do you ever notice your front man doing any kind of voice care? Is he a warm up kind of guy,
kind of? Yeah, sometimes I think as people get older, they've got to kind of adapt and try.
Yeah,
you know, especially as we're heading towards our 40s and stuff. But yeah.
And now I also know from seeing and reading past interviews by you that you're a big horror movie guy. Give me the name of a couple of horror movies out there for people that don't know the genre really well. A couple of horror movies, man, that really stand out that people should fucking give a chance to. Horror movies that you think people should see, because obviously the genre gets dumped on a lot for, you know, it's blood, it's gore, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not even sometimes even taken seriously as a film genre.
Yeah, people should be watching John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982.
Yeah.
I would recommend 1988's The Blob. Chuck Russell is obviously another remake.
Yeah. I obviously, if you couldn't tell by the background here, I'm a huge Michael Myers fan. But for God's fucking sake, man, I'm seeing things, and I don't know if this is true, man. But the rights to it have been sold, and we might get Michael Myers to come back again. How much can this guy come fucking back from?
Well, they're saying they're going to do a TV show now, so fuck knows how they're going to navigate that one. But
Jesus, I mean, you know, that last one with Jamie Lee Curtis, we saw him go into some kind of a fucking meat grinder looking thing. I don't know how you come back from that, but I mean, you know, then again, you know, the guy has been burned. He's been, you know, everything has been done to him.
Yeah, well, there's like 4 different timelines, so pick your poison. Which one do you like the best? You know, they'll just find some other way to navigate around it. I don't know what they're going to do, to be honest.
But yet, I do find the 1978 John Carpenter. It's funny you brought him up, man. That movie is incredibly good. You know, and it's one of the few that I see on cable TV here that gets 4 stars. You don't see that happen a lot for a rating for a horror movie. But it is great that they didn't lean on all that gore and blood. You almost don't even see it in that first one.
No, you don't. It's obviously the late 70s weren't massively known for the kind of gore. The gore didn't start hitting until the 80s, really. But it's more cerebral, I think. It's, you know, what you don't see is what Carpenter described. It's more terrifying that way. But weird you say that, like, because I was a kid, I had that on VHS and watched it when I was probably far too young. When I eventually saw the second one, I kind of favored watching that one more, because obviously at the time I was a kid, I'd seen all the Friday the 13th, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street. So when I saw that number 2 eventually, I was like, oh, this one's amazing, because it's, you know, Carpenter writ especially more gory scenes in that, but to compete with what was going on, you know, in the early 80s.
Yeah, so. And that's the one where you're talking about, obviously, where he's chasing Jamie Lee Curtis all over the hospital. One of my personal favorites of all time, too, man. And it can be dicey. It can be dicey with sequels, man. But for some reason, that guy, and it wasn't the same guy playing Michael Myers in that second one. No. He had that very catatonic, straight walk.
Yeah,
he was very creepy.
Dick Warlock, man. Dick Warlock just fucking.
Dick Warlock, yeah. I mean, Dick Warlock's gait and his manner of walking ought to be studied by all slashers.
Yeah, it's great, man. I can't help but watch them back to back just because they fit so perfect as a double feature for me.
And technically, it is still the occurrences of the same night. You know what I mean? So it's kind of meant to be like the same. So for you, what would, and this is a subjective question, your Mount Rushmore of all time favorite musical acts, who would it be? And again, let me remind people, Mount Rushmore, I got my geography lesson from people in the comments section. It is in South Dakota, and there are 4 faces on it, so that means 4.
Pantera. I have to put Pantera in there.
Yeah, I love Pantera so much. I've got my Cowboys from Hell tattoo, and I will be seeing them next year in the new version of them, which I'm really looking forward to.
I'll take it, man. I'll get whatever I can. I never saw them back in the day. I missed them. So I'm happy that they're doing at least something that I can see.
I mean, you take 2/4 of them and you say, hey, I mean, you know, it's unfortunate the Emmett brothers
the band, you know, it's half the band.
It's half.
It's a lot of people.
Well, you make a good point. There are a lot of bands out there that still sell themselves under the name of the original band, and there's nobody left.
Exactly. It's plenty.
All right, Pantera.
I'm gonna stick to metal. I could go on tangents and, you know, bring up bands that were important to me throughout all my life, but I'm going to stick to certain bands that have impacted me through it. Obviously, Pantera, Dying Fetus.
Okay.
I'm going to do Despised Icon when I got a bit older, and that kind of like changed, my perspective. And they're like a deathcore band from Montreal. Who would number 4 be? Damn. It's probably going to have to be Suffocation, It's going to have to be.
New York legends, and I am in New York, so we have to proudly hail, because other states here in America are known for their death metal scenes, like Florida, a legendary state for death metal, man. I mean, Tampa has spawned so many, there's so many great death metal bands. We don't have a lot here in New York, but Suffocation is in New York, the death metal band. It just like the big 4, I mean, we have Anthrax, and the rest are all Bay Area bands, Yeah,
well, you've got Internal Bleeding as well, another New York fucking legend. So, and technically, Cannibal Corpse ain't too far away from fucking, Buffalo. It's not a million miles away. So
no, which oddly enough is where Cannibal Corpse is originally from.
Exactly.
New York. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, but it's, I don't know. I think there's a correlation. Again, this is just a theory. Hot weather seems to make fucking great aggressive music. The Bay Area thrash scene, Florida. Yep. There's been some heavy bands like Pantera that have come out of Texas. There's a great scene down in Louisiana. Where you got Crowbar and I Hate God and some of those bands. So it's just a theory. But then again, there's some great death metal that comes out of England and over in Europe, and you guys aren't particularly known for hot weather. So maybe my theory is shit. I don't know.
Fuck knows, man. I don't know.
But what do you think goes into writing like a great death metal song, though? Seriously, though, because I mean, death metal is one of those things that's been done and done and done for years and years and years, and sometimes it is a difficult genre to stand out in. You'll get critics who will say, "Oh, it's growling, indecipherable lyrics, blast beats, this and that, or whatever." So when you're sitting down, man, how do you stand out?
It's hard to not tread on things that have already been done before, and it has all been done. So you're just trying to find other ways of trying to navigate it, and not completely rip it off. But I think I will only speak for myself, and I think there's definitely some sort of riff style that people can pick up from what I do, and I probably put that down to being young and not having the internet properly when I was younger. There was no YouTube, nothing. So either buy a magazine or don't. So I think it was an organic way that I learned things. I never learned other people's music, so I didn't have anything else to kind of like warp or change what I wanted to hear. So I would, not that it's no ways better than the other. You should definitely learn other bands' shit for technique, which I lack quite a lot of technique from being young and not going down that route. But I can also listen to my music and be kind of proud that I feel like I can hear myself in there.
Yeah. And now for people that are, and I'm not a musician myself, so probably after I ask you this question, I'll sit back and let you answer, and I'll have no fucking idea any of the stuff you're talking about. But other people will, so that's important, man. So are you like a gear guy? I know a lot of guys like geek out over it, man. Like for people that might want to know out there how you achieve your sound, man. Like what is it? Are there particular guitars, particular pieces of equipment that you use to achieve the sound?
There's definitely a circle of things that I go to and that I gravitate towards. Pickups for a start. I was a massive EMG guy back in the day. Still like EMG, but another company came out later on called Fishman. So I'm now endorsed by Fishman, which is kind of like, it's like an EMG with slightly more clarity. Both are great, but I use Fishman. I've been using ESP LTD guitars for I've been officially endorsed for 9-10 years, and I've been using their instruments since 2003. So 21 years. That's my sound. And then I like a PV5150 or a 6505 or something along that line. That's got that kind of gain stage. And then I would usually, obviously things have changed now. I don't take my 5150 I don't take a full rack out. It's just like this big now that I use, but it's what I use in there is a mimic of things that are very similar. And I always have a tube screamer at the front. I used to use the Maxon overdrive, which was the green pedal. The shit was great. So whenever I use the thing called a Quad Cortex now, which is all digital, and when I load in my pathway, I'll get as close to a 5150 as I can. That's on there.
Okay.
Funnily enough, I use an EVH on there, which is Eddie Van Halen, which he was PV5150, but now he's got his own EVH thing in there. Right. And then I'll put the same sort of tube screamer, a green, Abraham Ibanez tube screamer. But I've got a modded Ibanez that I captured in the studio. So that's it, man. Again, that's similar to a 5150 65, blah, blah, blah. and a fucking tube screamer in front of it, man. That's it.
I'm super happy. And I'm super happy that you brought up Eddie Van Halen because if you couldn't tell, I've got the poster of Diamond David Lee Roth back there, who I like to refer to, if you may or may not seen episodes of my show, as Dad. I'm pretty sure that it's pretty obvious, man, that I am the son of David Lee Roth Jr. You could probably tell, right?
Yeah, sure, why not?
Okay, I'll tell you the same thing I tell everybody. I might quote you on that. I might even subpoena you when it's time to go to court and actually prove it. But when you bring up Eddie Van Halen, you're a guy that doesn't play the same kind of music as him, yet he is widely respected, obviously, in the guitar player world. For you, as somebody who plays extreme metal, I don't want to say the complete opposite of what Eddie Van Halen did, but certainly in very different genres or whatever. What is it about him that guitar players always admire? You know, I mean, can you put a finger on it and maybe sum it up? Because guitar players, no matter what genre they're in, always pay him props. He's always on a list of the all-time greats, whether you're a death metal guy, whether you're a thrash guy, or whether you're a flamenco player. Everybody seems to love him.
Well, he's a pioneer of technique. Of the tapping stuff that he completely revolutionized. And I mean, I think I read somewhere that when he first started doing that kind of shit, he'd face away from the crowd so people couldn't know what the fuck he was doing.
Yeah, look, he didn't want no one
to copy him. But I mean, that alone, he was one hell of a creator and stuff. And even going to his gear, like his signature amp back in the early 90s, the PV5150.
Yeah,
it's fucking so important for metal that he came out with that amp, because it's like, then you've got Machine Head, you've got fucking those metal bands in the early 90s that was it. That was the sound. And then obviously it's carried on. It filters down from metal to death metal. And obviously I picked up and went, this is the fucking sound,
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He's responsible for that.
And are there any specific places, it could be a country, it could be a specific venue. I really, when I wrote the question, I kind of meant more like geographically wise. Are there places that you enjoy playing or that you feel like Ingested is embraced the most? Like, are there some places that stand out to you, like where you say, oh, wow, I'm circling this gig. I really enjoy when we play here.
It used to be able to predict things. Germany used to be really good. And then, 10, 15 years ago, now it's unpredictable. Sometimes the gigs are great, sometimes they're not. The most comfortable we feel, it's, the A markets of the United States is the place to do the best,
Yeah.
God bless you consumers, because you will consume merch at,
yes, we will.
fucking hundreds of dollars, man. Thank God that you guys do that, because that basically fucking fuels.
Yeah. Nobody consumes like Americans. Well said, Sean.
That's our career there, man. You guys fucking,
I get it.
So fuck yeah.
You got to be out there peddling that merch. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like it really is important. And that's my caveat that I say all the time on here. In my preamble before my guest gets in here, or even after you go out of the room and I wrap up my episode, I always try to encourage people, go to your favorite acts, websites, find out where they're playing, get out to a gig, purchase some merchandise, or whether it's at a show or if it's off their website or it really is a tough time to be a musician. You always used to hear people say, I do this because I really love it. You know what I mean? And you should be doing stuff because you really love it. But now it really pertains more than ever, because unless you're way at the top and you're fucking Taylor Swift, people aren't really making gobs of money.
Oh, we're not. It's minimum wage at best most of the time. It's I can't even convey enough how important it is that kids turn out to these shows and buy the merchandise, because we ain't getting money from streaming or CDs anymore. And any of the guarantee money that we make is just paying for the tour, paying for crew, paying for petrol, paying for flights. That's swallowed away. So the only profit that actually turns up is merchandise. So it's fucking so important.
Have there been times when you were frustrated throughout? You started in 2016, so that's crazy. A couple more years, you're going to be doing this with Ingested for 20 fucking years. I mean, it really flies by or whatever. Have there been times? Have there been times throughout the career where you've had fucking doubts, like where you've been close to saying, "Geez, there have."
Yeah,
I appreciate musicians being honest about this, because I think people just think like, "Oh, you're a musician. What a life you've got,"
I turn around, I have these conversations with the band members, and like, do you remember this time? Like, we nearly threw it. 2011, we did nothing. 2011, 2012, we did one tour. It was like, some of the members were working in restaurants, being managers and shit. Like, this is done. Like, we're done. And the fact that we made it through that. We got our first American tour 2015. And I remember getting on that tour and going, if we'd have split up 3 years ago, this wouldn't have been happening. So then once we started tail spinning. We're like, the year after that, we did Summer Slaughter with Cannibal Corpse, now Suffocation, etc., etc. the idea of that, if we give up now, what's next? What's next? So that kind of like mystery of like, if we turn it down now, we never know what's going to happen. So I think there's a weird, stubborn, you know, thing inside of us that will just keep going because we just think something keeps going, something keeps going. And it's like, I don't truly think our career started until 2022, if I'm honest, because that's when we realized that we could just about make it work as a band and not have to do a day job. So the band's only been going for fucking 2-3 years, man, in my eyes.
What happened in 2011 that made you put the brakes on, completely thrown in the towel, though? Like, was there one monumental event that happened?
Well, everyone was, like, doing real jobs. Like, Lynn eventually became a restaurant manager. He moved down to London, so his focus was doing that. And, like, no one was really contributing anymore. It was kind of like just me that was going, well, you're going to do stuff, we're going to do stuff. So I kind of kept it going just about, you know. But eventually shit changed. Lynn wanted to go for the band full time, and that's what we did in 2018. We gave it a go and lost a lot of money. But, you know, thank God for COVID, because we were getting pretty burnt out and losing quite a lot of money. And I think it gave us a weird reset for us, because the first American tour we did back was the first time we actually raised some money and some good money. And we're like, fuck, okay, maybe there's something still here. And then since then, it's been just about profitable to sustain the few of us that do it as a full-time job, you know.
Now, I'm assuming that your kids are small, correct?
I've got twin boys at 4, and I've got a daughter that's 10.
And what do the kids think of the kind of music that you make?
The boys haven't got a fucking clue what's going on.
They don't know.
Nah, they don't give a shit.
What about your 10-year-old? Scares her to death?
She's cool with that. I mean, I've got like fucking Freddy Krueger busts and Terminator heads and shit all over the house. Like,
that's true. She's been around the horror stuff. Yeah, right.
Yeah, see all that shit.
Music probably pales in comparison, right?
Yeah. I mean, so she's seen me just play once. You know, she's young. It's not really her thing. But just as recently as yesterday, she was on the phone to a friend, and she just came up to my face and put her phone in my face, and she went, I heard a friend go, oh, okay. I was like, what are you doing? She went, what do you do for a living? I went, I'm a musician. And then she walked away. She's obviously telling him, Googled my face and went, that's my stepdad. Like, like, okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's fascinating because, I mean, I have grown kids, but now I have grandchildren or whatever. And, you know, probably hearing the music is not as scary as seeing the visual stuff. Like, I think kids get more scared of, like, visual stuff, you know, especially, like, at that young age. I mean, hearing something isn't going to scare them or whatever, man. But, you know, like, when you actually lay your eyes on something, like, I haven't even shown my grandkids that many horror movies, man, because they're already just scared of usually just the picture. Like, I show them a picture of Art the Clown, and they're like, no, I don't want to see that.
Yeah. Well, I've shown my daughter plenty of shit, but it's stuff that she's very mature for her age, and she's, you know, she's her head's switched on, so it's like I'll only show her things that I think I know she can handle, or, you know, if there's any sex scenes and stuff, I avoid all that kind of stuff. I avoid like just dumb gore for the gore's sake stuff, because it doesn't serve a purpose to her. You know, she's seen Terminator 2, she's seen Terminator, Alien, you know. Yeah. The Lost Boys and shit. So.
Oh, one of my favorites of all time. Yeah. A little cheesy, but that was the 80s right there, though. That was the 80s. I mean,
that's a charm. It's a charm of it. One thing I tried to get her to watch fucking this the other month, and she just said, no, Killer Clowns from Outer Space, man.
No, wasn't going to do it.
No, I don't like clowns. I was like, oh, no. This is a funny film, though. It's like, it's not even scary. She's like, no, I'm watching it. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, I kind of feel that way, kind of like about the Lost Boys a little bit, though, too, though, man. Because at the end when they're having the showdown in the house, there, it is a little spoofy. You can tell everything looks kind of cheesy, and the blood spurting everywhere, and I mean, you know, even them turning into vampires. Although I will say that they are still a much cooler pack of vampires than any of those fucking Twilight pussies.
Man, I saw that one film like 15 years ago, and I never saw it again. I was like,
they were badasses, man. The Lost Boys were badasses.
I was like, what? Because they've got fucking shiny skin, the vampires. What the fuck is this shit, man? Come on. Jesus.
and so artistic wise, are you somebody, because you do have such like a love of horror? Have you ever thought of branching out and doing anything in any other artistic vein other than music? Is there a horror book or a horror movie inside of you?
No, I wish there was, man. I'm just not creatively that inclined. It's just riffs.
It goes into the music.
Yeah, I don't. I wish I had that interest in terms of, like, you know, maybe do a script or do whatever. But it's I ain't got it in me. I don't think. I think.
Yeah. I mean, Rob Zombie, like we saw him, you know, he starts out as a musician, then suddenly he's doing the Devil's Rejects, and then he's doing big budget Halloween movies, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Now, are you a fan of his Halloween movies? a very polarizing topic. You've got your traditionalists who like, yeah, I had my problems with him. I appreciate that he tried to tell a little bit of backstory. But for fuck's sake, the one thing that I do have a problem with, man, is that the original Michael Myers was a guy of 5'10", 6 foot build, a regular guy that you just thought, this is scary. This little guy, not little guy, but just an average size guy. Then Rob Zombie goes out and gets a fucking monster size guy who I would be scared of whether he had a mask on or not.
I think his dialogue's fucking hit and miss. It's so trashy and just fuck you can't fuck.
Yeah,
come on, man, we can do better than that.
Yeah.
I didn't get young Michael that ended up being fucking that size. That didn't make any sense to me.
I mean, allegedly he's in an insane asylum. He's not eating or drinking, but yet he's growing to 6'8", 300 pounds. I mean,
but once Tyler Main starts doing his shit, I enjoy that. I think Tyler Main's good, and I think the mask is decent as well. Obviously, it's been hit and miss over the years, and I don't throw it on often, but I'm not completely against it. Number 2 though, I've never seen number 2.
Yeah. And that one
I've heard some weird shit about that.
And that one he spends a lot of time actually doing some killing out of the mask, and he let the beard grow very, very long. And I almost thought, like, looking at some scenes of his face, you know what? I think he's more terrifying in that movie with the goddamn mask off.
Yeah.
He doesn't.
I need to see it. I've seen clippings. I know the mask is like half. You can see his face and all that kind of shit.
Yeah, some girl got her hands on it. Some girl got her hands on it in one scene and ripped a little chunk off. You know what I mean? So they kind of left that in there. But at the very end, though, man, like he's like, he's like without the mask, like in the final scene, and he's terrifying looking.
I heard they did there's a dialogue version of him saying something at the end as well. I'm glad they didn't go with that ending. Like.
Yeah, I got confused about that too because they were showing all the horror movies here on cable TV, just a couple weeks ago when we had Halloween, and I saw the one that was on the Sci-Fi Network, but yet usually on regular cable television though they did have him talk, but this one did not end with him talking.
Okay,
but
different cuts.
So there must be different cuts because at the end, I think he stabs like the current Dr. Loomis, and he just says the word "die." But
that was it. Yeah, die, and we're like, nah, okay. I won't watch that version if I'm going to watch it. Fuck that.
Right. So you think he should remain quiet?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he does do some grunting when he's killing. You know, I mean, you do hear him making some guttural noises throughout. But
that's not totally terrible, I guess.
He's throwing himself into his work.
Yeah. Respect it.
And now, let me ask you this: if you were able to pick one or maybe even 2 bands, I know a lot of death metal tours go out in these packages. If you could pick 2 bands that would be your dream tour package, who would Ingested go out with?
I almost did it. So this is a hard question. Like my big 4 of death metal: Suffocation, Nile, Cannibal Corpse, Dying Fetus, and I did Cannibal Corpse, Nile, Suffocation on 1 tour.
Wow.
I've toured with Dying Fetus twice, so I'm like, I've done that. I've kind of done my death metal.
Yeah.
Mount Rushmore. I would like, who's missing? I mean, I've even done gigs with Obituary. I've not done a full tour with them, but we did a couple of dates in the UK. So
yeah, that's my favorite death metal band of all time.
There's not a lot. I wouldn't mind playing with Deicide. Never done that.
Yeah,
that'd be cool. That's it. Fucking, I've done it. I don't know what else.
You're fucking very fortunate, man. Yeah, because you just named. Well, because you're Mount Rushmore of death metal bands. Obviously it's a subjective topic. It's debatable. But you've got absolute classic bands in there that I don't think. There's definitely a few in there that nobody could pull out of there. You can't take Cannibal Corpse out of a Mount Rushmore of death metal.
It has to stay there.
Suffocation's got to be in there. You know what I mean? You said Nile. Who else did you say?
Dying Fetus.
Yeah, I mean,
a lot of people will be like Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, Deicide, fucking, Morbid Angel. So that could be a lot of people. So I've seen that lots of times. I do a gig with Morbid Angel, but there's 2 versions. So like,
I
don't fucking know.
That's maddening. That's maddening when there's 2 versions of these bands. I think I think it's confusing to the consumer too.
Yeah, I've never seen Morbid Angel, but I've seen I Am Morbid, and I know David Vincent. I'd rather see the David Vincent one. Surely.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Surely.
I think you always go. I think you always go with the version that has the voice.
You'd say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes the most sense to me.
It makes the most sense because I think with all due respect to the other people and participants in the band, it's hard to take the voice and put it somewhere else. I mean,
true.
I mean, if all the other guys stay and James Hetfield leaves Metallica, it's pretty much dead in the water. I mean,
same with Cannibal Corpse. They couldn't.
It's tough.
They
Although
it
is a polarizing topic, I've had Paul, the drummer from Cannibal Corpse, on, man, and there are two there are two lives to Cannibal Corpse. Are you a Chris Barnes or a Corpse Grinder guy?
Corpse Grinder, come on.
Yeah.
Corpse Grinder's my boy, man. I've been on tour with them, a bunch, and I'm biased, but Corpse Grinder, come on.
Yeah, he is great. I mean, but Cannibal Corpse does have its purest fans, though, man. Who fucking
I know he does.
Who believe that those first couple of Corpse albums are holy
grail. What I will say now, though, is fine. Listening to bands in 1994, fine, I get it.
Yeah.
But who sounds the greatest now?
You're right.
Corpse Grinder is kept the exact same voice for fucking 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
Bands has fell off, man. It's like it's not even.
Yeah.
It's not even
and a lot of people and a lot of people do not dig, and they've checked out of the 6 Feet Under stuff. It's sad to say, but I mean, there's not as many people digging 6 Feet Under as that are still digging on Cannibal Corpse.
Yeah, it's definitely not.
And plus, for fuck's sake, that neck has a fucking life of its own. I mean,
respect the neck, man.
Respect the neck. Yeah, you absolutely have to. And so, if I were to take you, here's another subjective question. If I were to take you, Sean Hynes, drop you on a desert island, and you can only take one album, what's the desert island album that you bring with you? And again, you're stuck on an island with this one album, so it doesn't have to be extreme metal. I mean, if there's something outside of the genre, I know we've talked a lot about metal here, but this is obviously an album that you're going to essentially be on an island and fucking croak to. So
this might be a bit of a controversial take, but I'm going to go with it anyway. The Great Southern Tranquil by Pantera.
Okay. And now, why that album, man? Like, why could you fucking stay on a desert island?
Because you just mentioned there, I could have picked any artist or any genre of music.
Yep.
I've got to definitely have some guitar riffs in there. But on that album, you've got some soft stuff. You've got some acoustic stuff. You've got some drop B stuff at the end, which is really low. Like, I'll take that. That'll do for me.
Fair enough. Okay, and now you were talking about controversial, polarizing questions, man. Haven't got much pushback on this one yet, man, but I expect there might be some people who might think this is a little tasteless. But if we were to barter with God right now, and we could have one dead musician back, and we could swap one out, who would we want back, and who could we fucking get rid of?
Ooh, I'd want Dimebag back.
Okay, and oddly enough, one of the first times I asked this question a couple of months ago, man, Dimebag was the first person brought back. I can't remember who we traded for him. I want to say Harry Styles, but I don't know why we traded away Harry Styles. But
oh God, I'd have to pick someone who's a piece of shit though. Ian Watkins, there you go, easy. Don't have to feel guilty about that one. Ian Watkins was the vocalist for a band called the Lost Prophets.
Okay,
and he did some really, really horrible things about a decade ago.
Horrible things in terms of fucking criminal activity?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to say it on the podcast, but you should Google Ian Watkins when you get off, and it's fucking insanity.
And what was the name of the band he was in? Lost Prophets?
The Lost Prophets, yeah. So he can fucking go. He can go, and you'll understand when you read about him why he can go. I feel completely fine with essentially murdering someone for getting someone back. So my conscience is clear on that decision.
All right, good. And I guess I know where my Google search is going to be when I get done here.
Let me know what you think of that.
Oh, I will.
Let me know.
And so now, obviously, the music business has changed, so much. We started to see trends around COVID where people were putting out, and obviously they couldn't go on tour. So there's a lot of influx of music, a lot of singles, a lot of EPs. When you guys are going to do a project, does a full length still work best for you, man? Or has the musical landscape changed? Do EPs make more sense?
This is an interesting question. Very interesting question, actually.
Yeah.
I'm still pretty purist, and I love the album format because I like being able to give someone a bit of a journey from start to finish. But like you said, not a lot of people are going to gravitate towards a full listen with that. So you do have to kind of adapt and think about singles and stuff. So I don't know. I want to hold on to it because I think it's still got value. There's people still buying vinyl, so people are going to want full length on vinyl. I don't know what it's going to look like in the future though. As you see, a lot of younger bands are doing just single, and then whatever. But I don't know, man. If I can hold on to that format, I will, as long as possible, because it's the way I consume music, and it's the way that I was brought up consuming music. So I hope that can continue.
Well, I know talking to a lot of musicians on here, and like one thing that is obviously a mainstay with albums, great songwriting, great songs, all killer, no filler. You hear that term a lot, But one thing I'm starting to realize, talking to musicians on here, that is very important, and I do believe, and I keyed in on you saying, taking somebody on a journey. I do believe the arrangement and the cadence and the flow of an album is
100%.
very important too. That's almost an art in and of itself.
Yeah, I love to sequence albums, and I will have tracks in mind with a sequence on purpose. Yeah, it's important. You can also get away with a little bit more artistically when you do it that way, because say if you want to take the album down a little bit halfway through, and then if people don't like that track, then they know the next few tracks are going to come back up again, and then maybe it's going to drop down at the end. So I can stretch my legs creatively a little bit when I know a full length is in mind. I can do something a little softer here and there, and it doesn't have to always be fucking blast beats 280 smashing people's faces in. Although I do love that, it just gives me a little bit of room, I guess.
And now, do you do a lot or any of the lyric writing in the band?
Yeah, I do some lyrics. Yeah, I do some full songs.
And for you, like, where do you, I know we've talked about, your love for horror movies or whatever, but like, where do you draw the main inspiration from, for lyrics? Are you just a movie guy? Are you a news guy? Like, where do you get
I'm neither a movie guy nor a news guy. I write on circumstances, feelings, he's actually pretty personal the way I write lyrics, but they're not always obvious. Sometimes you can read that and take it different ways. It's not so on the nose all the time, but that's where I get inspiration for. Like, I love the horror thing, but there's plenty of bands doing it. Mortician did it another band, Mortician, did that years ago. Aborted, a very horror orientated, and they nail it. So it's like that field is covered. So Cannibal Corpse is all horror. So I'm not a political guy. I'm not interested with it at all. I just close the curtains and put a horror film. I don't need to know what's going on. I've got my kids in my little bubble.
Yeah,
I'm not interested. So I don't want to listen to people's fucking political views on a fucking song either. I don't give a shit. Like, just show me the fucking riff, man. But yeah, mine are all personal experiences, personal feelings, and that kind of stuff.
I wish more people felt like you, man, because I do think when people have a platform, actors or musicians, I think it's a polarizing topic. I almost think that you shouldn't really be out there espousing your political views, because you can gain fans, but you can also have a big part of your fan base cut off by espousing those views a little bit. You know what I mean? I'm kind of the old school where, like, who you vote for is just kind of your own business. There's no point in gloating about whether your candidate won or lost. It used to be one of those things. It was a very private thing. I remember being fascinated with it and going with my grandmother to vote when I was a little kid, and she's holding my hand, and we walk out of there. I asked her, "Who did you vote for?" And I was maybe like 7 or 8. I don't even know if I even knew what the hell the question meant, but she said, "Oh, that's something you never ask anybody." Yeah,
because you still want to be friends at the end of the day. Maybe your neighbor's red and you're blue or whatever. It's
right.
Like,
you keep it to yourself. Yeah.
You still want to go for dinner,
right?
Fucking start moaning about policies and shit. Fuck that.
Now, one of the things that I think I do need in my life right here, and I will give you guys a big shout out on merch, and I made sure to take a picture of this shirt, Surpassing the Boundaries of Human Suffering. Now, that's a shirt right there.
There's a few dead babies on the back of that one.
Yeah, and I love the fact that it's written huge and fucking just like so bold and so surpassing the boundaries of human suffering. What does that term like mean to you? Because I feel like I'm doing that just about every fucking day.
Well, that was our first album, man. Back in the day, we were like 18, 19, 20. We're like, the fucking name of the game back then was to be the most offensive and most overtly fucking heavy band we could. We were competing with bands like Cannibal Corpse and Devourment. Devourment are like a Texas band that were also quite gory and stuff, and we're like, let's outdo them. So all the lyrics on that album are fucking disgusting, and all the rest are fucking, over the top, and the production's over the top, and it's like we wanted to fucking come in the scene with a massive statement, and
you have to do that.
Our fans love that album still. It's regarded as one of quite a pioneering album, which I'm very fortunate to, luckily that people look at it that way. So. Sweet.
Now, because you are a death metal band, and you named your Mount Rushmore of death metal, people hear you talking about the horror movies, man. They certainly know, man, that you're representing heavy. You know what I mean? But what would be like a guilty pleasure, man? It could be a movie, could be a TV show, but maybe you sit around and watch fucking, The Bachelor with your wife. I don't know, man.
No, there's 2 films that spring to mind.
Okay.
Very guilty. Mean Girls with Lindsay Lohan.
Okay.
Film.
Okay.
And 10 Things I Hate About You, Heath Ledger. Like,
you might get your metalhead card pulled for this.
I don't give a fuck. I enjoyed them when I was younger, and I've got a little. Oh, I like Ghost. You ever seen Ghost with Patrick Swayze?
Oh, of course, a tearjerker.
Ghost.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
a bona fide tearjerker.
Give me a bit of Ghost, man. I love that film as well.
Yeah. Well, you know what, man? You got to let the ladies fucking see the sensitive side. It's important. Man. It's important.
Yeah, of course.
What about music? Is there anything you'd care to admit on here, man, that you think is like a guilty pleasure of music?
I don't think music can be too guilty pleasure unless you're talking like boy bands and girl bands that are obviously aimed for teenagers and shit, which it's not my jam, but a lot of stuff we listen to in the van, and you know, we're all heading towards our middle age years now, so we don't play a lot of metal when we're on the road. Really, it's a lot of fucking Duran Duran and fucking 80s Dire Straits, fucking Prince, all that kind of shit. He gets jammed, man. You know what I mean?
Well, you nailed it on the head right there, man. Prince has always been like the mecca for me. I'm a rock and metal guy, man. But I have everybody here, and I've always had Prince like in a special place. Yeah,
we listen to a lot of that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I think it's good, though, that those walls and those barriers have been brought down, because I've talked about it on here before. Like, there used to be a time, especially when I was a kid, where, like, if you were representing yourself as a metalhead and people found out that you were listening to anything behind closed doors, you'd almost feel like you were ostracized. I've talked about, like, drumming you out of the metal community, but that would be how you'd be really made to feel back in the day. You'd be a poser, you know what I mean? Like, people would make you feel like less than.
I was the same guy, man. Until I was, like, fucking 22, 23, I was horrible. I was like, elitist. It has to be fucking brutal death metal. Don't listen to nothing else. It's shit. All this kind of stuff. But like, you grow up and you start, realizing that's not what it has to be. Don't get me wrong. I'm still very proud of my early roots of the underground scene and stuff. But I like other shit, and other shit inspires me. So I don't give a shit what you think about what I like. In
your mind right now, who is the heaviest band that you've ever fucking heard?
Heavy's it can be taken very various ways.
And I wanted to see how you answer this, because I do agree. As I've gotten older, I've realized that heavy takes on a whole different meaning.
Listen, you could say bands like Meshuggah. That's heavy, obviously, in its own right.
Yeah.
But when I heard this album, no one's gonna know what this band is. It's so underground and ridiculous. It's a band called Enmity. Okay. It's like a really seriously brutal, unnecessarily brutal, where it's like track 1 through 10. When I can put any track on, I even do this on tour. Like, I go, "What's the most brutal band you've ever heard?" And I'll put that on, and I'll give him like 5 seconds of each track, and it's the same track. It's that's it. That is it. That is literally it. It's indecipherable, brutal.
Now, are you able to find that enjoyable, or can music be too heavy for the sake of being heavy and lack any type of melody? Or are all bets off, man? Like, fucking go as heavy as possible.
I couldn't do fucking 10 tracks in a row of it.
Yeah.
But if you slot that in when I've been listening to fucking Oasis all day, then yeah, sure, I'll be like, fuck, yeah. All right, 3 minutes of that, cool, I'm done. Do you know what I mean?
Right, so you wouldn't sit down and listen to the album from start to finish. That would be a tough listen.
Not these days. Not these days. Maybe when I was fucking 20, but not now. Not now that I'm 38. I couldn't do a fucking.
Well, I've said that on here before too, man. Like, I used to equate heavy. Like, when you're young, you're looking for the next most extreme thing. When I'm 14, 15, we're coming with these different, many of my friends trying to outdo heavy or whatever. And I used to equate, heavy lyrics, the blast beats, all that stuff. But then when you get older, you start to realize, man, that some shit can be heavy on a whole different, like a band like Crowbar, heavy as fuck.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, Crowbar's heavy.
But maybe not the most obvious band. Like, when you think heavy, you start going into your Rolodex of death metal bands or whatever, and you don't think about slow, thick, chugging riffs like that being heavy, man. But it's apocalyptically heavy.
Absolutely is. Yeah. I mean, Suffocation, one of the best live bands I've ever seen, and they're undoubtedly heavy.
Heavy, yeah.
Heavy live. It's just it's crushing. It's totally crushing. Crowbar, Crowbar, that's crushing in a different way. It's just like. Yeah, I don't know. It's some shit is just heavy for whatever reason, It doesn't have to be brutal or on the other aspects of stuff. But
so this album comes out in 2024. How soon in today's musical landscape do you think about like a follow-up? What's the right number of time in between projects nowadays?
About 2 years.
2 years? Yeah.
Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah, from release to release. So, I'm already working on new stuff. So it's a constant process. I don't sit down and have an allocated amount of time. I go, right, we've got 6 months before the thing, let's do it. I'm just constantly writing, so we've got stuff to pick from,
Right. And so, like, so it'll always be albums for you, though, man. Like even when you guys sit down to write material, you guys have like a you know, hey, we don't want to go over X amount of songs or X amount of minutes. Like I know we talked about the EP and the LP or whatever, man. But even that, it seems like the attention span has dwindled so much, man. You know, do you in your mind think let's not go over X amount of songs or X amount of minutes?
A little bit. Sometimes, obviously it's changing constantly, but until my label and my management turn around and say, right, this format's not working anymore, then I'll always aim to do a full length every time.
Do you remember the days when you'd get a Metallica album and it'd be fucking, you know, 70 minutes of music, you know, like
fucking like Slipknot's first album's like fucking 16 tracks, like
just
monstrous, you know.
And now it seems like people don't delve into the deep tracks, you know, like people don't go through the whole album and take the journey anymore. Like you said earlier, it's a journey.
Exactly. But I like 10. I think 10's pretty cool. Around 45 minutes, 10 tracks, somewhere in there.
That sounds about right. Right. Well, hey, listen, man, I'm glad I got the chance to run you down, man. I really enjoyed the conversation, man. For sure, stay in touch, man. And when you got something cooking, man, I'd love to have you back on, man. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Man. This has been cool.
Yeah, I really appreciate you doing it, man. It was great talking to you, man. And like I said, man, stay in touch and we'll do it again, man.
My pleasure, bro.
Appreciate you, my man. Good talking to you, Sean.
Take care, man. See you later.
Later, brother. There he goes, folks. Sean Hynes, guitar player for death metal band Ingested. Go check out their latest album, 2024's The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams. A little bit of light listening for you there. No, I'm just kidding. I'm being sarcastic there. Heavy fucking album, man. These guys bring it and they fucking deliver. And fucking just a massively brutal death metal band. And right now, currently a 3-piece, as you said, they are looking for a permanent bass player, man. They've got a few different guys helping them out right now, man. But the core of the band intact. Sean, a big part of that, man. Amazing fucking guitar player, man. I encourage you guys, and of course, as I always say, go back and listen to the older shit too, man. Check out the discography, man. Some amazing fucking work there, man. And as I said, the last album, The Tide of Death and Fractured Dreams, go check that out ASAP. That's the latest. Came out here in 2024, man. Heavy as fuck, a fucking face melter, a Rexx Ruger approved fucking banger. So do yourself a favor. I'm going to do myself a favor right now and admire myself at the end of a long, tedious interview. Good to see that my gorgeous coif is still in order. My rock star good looks never let me down. That's thanks to, of course, Pops up there, Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. right here. And, of course, the coif maintained by little product placement there. Get it, love it, use it. You won't look this good. That's goddamn near impossible, but you should probably look pretty good. I mean, come on, don't hate, congratulate. You'll never get the rock star good looks, but I've got the good Roth genes. So, take that. And that being said, man, make sure to like and follow PodScum on Facebook. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this channel to stay tapped in. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Rexx Ruger. No place else, man. Another great episode. Let me say again, thank you to Sean Hynes from Ingested for coming on here, man. And like I always say when I end these things, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.